Hey Matrix Live, here today with Jason Robinson, who is J-Wink, and he works for Elements. So hello,
Hi everyone.
how's it going? Where are you in the world?
I'm based in Helsinki.
Cool.
Yeah, it's spring,
Yeah.
not too bad.
What does spring mean in Helsinki? It's still covered in ice.
Well, no, almost. It's like minus. I mean, at night time it goes near to the sort of below freezing, but we have like +10 during the day, so not too
Okay.
bad. I
Okay.
wouldn't go for a picnic yet. Maybe in my t-shirt.
All right. All right.
It's okay. It
Um,
gets better.
okay, it gets better. This is only spring, so you've got more to come. All right, but what do you do for Element? I think most of your time is focused on EMS. Have I got that right?
Yes. I do so I've been a developer on EMS for just over 2 years.
Mm.
And basically, my day to day includes working on things like the infrastructure, the web app,
The
all
web
the, all
app
the
is what the you don't mean Element Web. The web app you mean the admin configuration tools.
yeah, basically the tool that people use to actually set up the hosts and configure the hosts. And that includes things like, well, configuration options, admin tooling, so that they can manage the users and
Hmm.
things like that, and all the payment stuff. And
Right.
but yeah, it's a basically a just for maintaining the hosts.
Okay.
And then there's in addition to that, we obviously have our like internal admin stuff, and yeah, there's a lot of different things going on.
So we should say EMS is the Element Matrix Services, and this is the SaaS platform offered by the Element company. So in terms of admin, you need first of all you need the tooling for the users, the customers, to be able to actually use the system. But then you also need back end tooling for your team to be able to provision and deprovision hosts and this kind of thing. So yeah, there's two sets of tooling there.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. So before that, though, you did some work on Element Web, I guess, or is it right? Is that just part of your EMS job?
Yeah, but it's more a part of sort of supporting the EMS case. So
Mm.
whenever we have something that we need for EMS customers, for example, if the Element team can't handle it, then we might try to do it ourselves if possible. The same sort of goes for, but because EMS runs on the open source components
Hmm.
produced by Element. Um, so we use Synapse, we use Element, then we use some sort of more community side components like the Matrix Media repo,
Mm.
and all of that kind of code base is something that, as an EMS developer, I've probably looked at more than once.
Yeah. So what's interesting there, I guess, is that you have the. I mean, I'm going to use the word opportunity, but you are also forced into a situation where you need to touch all the other products or the other open source products. In order to make them applicable to the commercial side, what's been your favorite thing to work on outside of the EMS tooling itself?
I would probably say Synapse
Mm.
because by heart I'm a Python backend
Yeah,
developer.
I think I knew
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
so that's interesting for me.
Hmm.
Obviously, it's a pretty complex project, but hopefully, I'll get to spend more time at some point to contribute more into Synapse. So
Interesting. Okay. All right.
that
So
that
that
would
would
be
be
nice.
a choice
Um,
for you, would it, to do more Synapse
yeah.
work? All right.
But Element Web is really interesting, and the code base is really nice. And
Right.
I've enjoyed working with those bits as well.
Okay.
Mm.
Because I mean that's kind of a quite monolithic React application, right?
Yeah, and we use React a lot
Mm-hmm.
in the actual EMS team
Yeah.
for all the web tooling. So it's in that sense. Nice.
Yeah, awesome. So I think we talked to you on Matrix Live. I mean, I've been talking to you for years, but we talked to you on Matrix Live a couple of years ago, and at that time you were much more focused on your Phineas project and a general interest in decentralization. Has working at a decentralization first company increased or decreased your interest, I guess, in decentralization?
That's an interesting question, and it's a bit difficult to answer. I'd, I'd confusingly maybe say both.
Okay.
It's made it. It's brought the kind of the decentralized communications word more into my day-to-day life, obviously, because I spend my work time in that kind of stuff.
Yep.
And it's also maybe shifted my focus a bit. I'm more interested into the like matrix kind of communication protocol stuff these days, and maybe a bit less on the sort of other federated stuff, but it's not gone away.
No, of course.
Yeah.
So on the other side, I guess there's Activity Pub is the big thing in the room, but yeah, Matrix is definitely in there. One thing that I mean, it's you say it's both more and less interesting. One theme of talking to people in this ecosystem is that they've accidentally turned their hobby into their job, and I feel like we meet a lot of people who've got that situation.
Yeah. That's definitely happened to me, and I feel very grateful for it.
So on which subject then? What decentralization and matrix related stuff are you doing outside of your working day?
So one of the biggest things, I guess, is maintaining a few community servers, and in general, like maintaining some tooling around that. There's the Phineas work, which
what's the status of that? What's going on there?
It's kind of running in the background. We have a matrix server. We actually, I think it became a bit too popular at some stage, so we had to actually shut down registrations because the whole server was melting down, and we couldn't. We were trying to run an open Telegram bridge at some point, and it just basically melted down to the influx of users. And we don't have a big budget, so we've been trying to play it a bit more low key and just sort of provide a stable and a valuable service for those users that are there. In addition to that, I'm kind of well, I see environmental issues quite importantly. They're very important for me in my life, and that's something I've been trying to put more focus onto. So there's Extinction Rebellion Finland is something that I've been involved with for maybe a few years as well.
I see.
And they're doing some really interesting work in highlighting environmental action needed for to tackle the environmental issues.
So, I mean, XR in Finland, because environmentalism is not a niche topic in Finland the way it is in other countries, I guess. I wonder how well received they are, over there.
It's I'm not sure about the levels actually. It's kind of it's easy to talk about at least, and it's easy to so there's a polarization in society. I think there's the kind of people who are strongly sort of conservative, and there's the vocal sort of environmentalists who are trying to raise attention, and a bit too much noise maybe happens between these two camps.
Right. Okay.
So it's difficult to say. Maybe in the levels, but I think there's some good work being done.
Great. But anyway, you've been working with them and doing, I guess, a lot of their tech stack.
Yeah. So what happened was when I joined Element, I got my fabulous Matrix hoodie when I visited London, when it was still possible to visit London.
Yeah.
and this this other activist who I didn't know spotted me wearing this hoodie one day in a restaurant, and
Wow.
he just came to talk to me and was like, "Hey, do you work for Matrix?"
Incredible.
That was yeah, that was pretty nice. So we got talking, and I've been sort of helping them run some of their tech stack, basically, because they already had interest in the Matrix protocol, because XR is decentralized by nature, not just technology, but it's decentralized in like governance, and so it's sort of something that suits that kind of organization well. They actually use Mattermost globally,
Right. Okay.
so I'm sort of whispering around the sort of global techie people to
Yeah.
there's a better thing out there.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, you see Matrix creeping into all kinds of all kinds of places. Yeah, I'm not going to go name dropping open source groups at the moment, but whenever I see multiple chapters, you just notice that some of them have already set up on Matrix, and yeah, we wonder how we can expand the interest there. All right, so cool. So environmentalism, a huge thing in your mind, and you're making good on the need to contribute there by offering them tech support, which is exactly what you could be doing. What other projects we've got here? I've noticed something called Social Home. What does this mean? What's it all about?
So Social Home is my sort of personal pet project. It's a social uh, social media server
Okay.
and a UI obviously. And initially it was federating only by diaspora protocol, and when ActivityPub came, I added ActivityPub into the mix, keeping the diaspora, so it's a cross protocol server. Not the only one. There's quite a few out there. Um, it kind of it's running still, and some people are actually even using it, even though I'm not spending a huge amount of time on it. But something that kind of blew my mind, or previously I had been thinking of, how could I mix Matrix into this? How could I make Matrix the third protocol in this stack, and while keeping the same kind of UX? Because Social Home is a very it's a kind of a mix between Facebook and Tumblr and Twitter in a way.
Okay.
It's kind of got all those elements.
Like a bit with a newsfeed focus, I guess.
Yeah, it's a grid layout, but your posts are like um, the posts are like Facebook posts, so that they have comments inside the post instead of being like separate
Right. Gotcha.
boxes like on Twitter.
Yes. Oh,
But it's
okay.
all based on threads inside.
Okay.
And then one day, I never really kind of thought how it could be done, and then one day Cerulean comes up. Like, wow, mind blown.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the next Matrix social project, I think. Is that.
Yeah. So that was definitely very interesting, and that was sort of made or brought up a lot of my sort of interest in working on Social Home again, and I started implementing Matrix support for it. The way it works, it uses an app service via Dendrite, and
Right.
Dendrite, because Dendrite has the experimental threading and profile
Exactly.
room stuff. And what it's turning out to be, initially I just wanted it to sort of support Matrix, but I realized that it's kind of ending up possibly being a more of an ActivityPub bridge into
Right.
Matrix in a way, because you have to support all the sort of remote users on other servers in the ActivityPub Fediverse, and also the Matrix and servers. So in theory, what I'd like to do maybe in a year's time or something would be able to run an activity pub bridge over a social home instance.
Right.
Let's
Okay.
see.
I mean, I wonder, because we get more requests for an activity pub bridge than we do for a matrix-backed social network. I wonder if there's scope for can you extract the activity pub to matrix component, market that separately.
Yeah, so social home is actually two components or three. It's the UI and sort of the backend Django server. And then the third one is the federation library. Yeah, that's the kind of the idea that once that work is done, then one could use the federation library to build a non-social home kind of just a bridge, basically.
Okay.
Which is basically an interface to the app service where the app service is in Dendrite, for example. Yeah, there's a lot of things to sort of solve when thinking about an activity pub bridge. I think the biggest issue is the how do you translate the say Mastodon sort of type UI into the element type UI. And Cerulean is sort of sidesteps that problem.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. I mean,
It
so
uses the same UI.
how would you solve the problem? For example, Mastodon can have composite events, composite posts, where it's an image inside a inside a post with other text. But Matrix is you'd need extensible events or something to simulate that.
So what I did was that I embedded images as inline embedded images, which isn't supported currently on the Android element, but it works really nice, at least on Element. It renders the images quite nicely.
Yeah.
It does force you to, the app service needs to download the remote images and upload them to the Dendrite server, but that's better for privacy anyway, I guess.
Right.
So
All right, there's so much going on. Is there anything else you wanted to add?
Um,
We're looking at our own notes. I mean, the thing is, you're somebody who's got a finger in everything. So I just wonder if there was some project you worked on.
It's an interesting time, definitely, to be involved in Matrix. That's a definite sure, I guess. And through through EMS. EMS is something that sort of helps the Element open source developers. So in that sense, it's nice if we can make EMS grow. Then we also help the open source components.
Awesome. All right, Jason, J-Wink, thank you very much, and thank you, Matrix Live.
No, thank you, Ben.
Bye now.